Nice.
Okay, welcome. It is the 20th of May 2024, and this is the Design Guide Jam session, and Michael knows the number.
Number 69.
There we go. So, yeah, this is just a session where we catch up on all things with the Bitcoin Design Guide, try to see if anyone needs help, support, and basically just move things along. Yeah, what shall we talk about today?
Let's talk PRs first.
Let's
That's
talk. Let's
basically
talk
the
about
only thing
cars.
that I know how to talk about.
Okay, let's see.
Cool. All right. So where is the here are the pull requests. Should I share my screen?
Yeah, go for it.
We can here pull requests. So we have we have a bunch of them. One new one about eCash. It's a draft PR. I had a brief look at it. It's basically a skeleton from Erik.
Okay.
So very cool to see. Very cool to see that. I glanced through it. Looks pretty good, and excited to learn more about it because I might mention it at my keynote in BTC Prague as one of the things that I think is interesting. So I'm gonna steal his content.
Right, of course.
uh, no, just kidding. And then we have kind of a more technical one,
Yeah.
dependency about Nokogiri, um, and a couple of smaller ones that Christoph is working on. Well, the human readable addresses is not that small.
Hmm.
Big discussions about it, and that's about it. I think the rest are are mine about the inheritance wallet.
So,
So
Eric,
that
if
would be great to get.
yeah,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt. Carry on.
No, we can. That's about it. This was just kind of going through the list, and maybe then afterwards I can go through the inheritance wallet PRs. It would be great to get some feedback on them, some more feedback, and so that we can merge them.
Would you like to maybe talk about the inheritance stuff so we can just dive into that maybe? What you need some support on or anything?
No, for right now it's just about feedback, but maybe I can give a little kind of refresher about
Yeah,
what it's
yeah.
about.
Boy.
So it's already, as you can see, it's already three parts. So the first part is just about, and let me go to the landing page. Um, so the first PR is basically about the first three pages here in the structure in the navigation. So kind of a landing page that quickly describes all the chapters that
Yeah.
they're going to be there. So I'm working on the last PR that I'm going to open is going to be this one, but probably only after after the first three have been merged. Um, so the first PR is about the use case and scope with the personas, with the kind of use case that we're looking at. No UIs here. And the second one is then pretty pretty deep on how to create a wallet or to how to create the inheritance wallet. So there's a lot of stuff in there. Also feedback that I already addressed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then that's number one. Number two is about backup. Also got feedback mainly from you and from Yashar here. So I addressed some of it already, and the rest I'll address this week. So this is kind of about how the wallet is backed up, what is part of it, how the user flow could look like, and yeah, what the what kind of the concept is of backing up. So part of this content will probably go into a additional issue that we have open on the design guide, which is the um, multi-key wallet backups.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be somehow processed also in that additional page. And then the third one is about how do you make changes to the wallet once you have it running for a while, you've backed it up. Um, what what do you do if you lose a key,
Mm-hmm.
or if you just want to change the wallet configuration? Um, Here I want to add an additional kind of illustration so that it's not just as text heavy as it is currently. But it would be great to get some eyes on kind of on the basics. This is pretty UI heavy again, mockup heavy. There's a prototype. There are tons of user flows to go through. Um, you have to move funds to the new wallet once you create it. That's also something that people might not think about. Maybe if you lose a key, that means you
Yeah.
have to you have to create a new wallet and move your funds. So this page basically the the entire process from A to Z, and even also about how do you archive the old wallet, because you will want to keep it around in case, just in case there will be coming, additional funds to it. Somebody sends by accident, or so you want to keep that around.
Sorry.
So it has kind of accumulated a lot of content. And it would be awesome if we could kind of start to get things, merged.
Yeah.
Um, Maybe the first, yeah. I don't know whether it's better to merge them, all at once,
Yeah.
or or based kind of piece by piece. But that's what would be great if we could kind of get that going.
So it's pretty much like the use case and scope. I know I reviewed that PR. I think you've probably moved that one along more.
Yeah. The PR number one, if we go, hang on, I'll
Yeah.
go back to the PR list. Oh, I just misclicked. Here we go. So this part one,
Mm-hmm.
which is about the use case and how to create the wallet. I think that's from my side. I think it's good to go. So
Yeah.
that's maybe just that. I think that can be moved along quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the one about the backup, I'll have addressed initial feedback by the end of this week,
Mm-hmm.
and then I think it could also be good to go. And for this part three, kind of this key replacement and cosigner onboarding,
Mm-hmm.
it would be great to get some initial feedback. So that's the kind of the state of what would be cool to get from the community. I also posted it on Twitter to see if anybody could jump in or wants to chime in,
Yeah.
and that's about it.
Cool. So review needed on the co-signer and onboarding bit. I just took some notes here. Use case and scope, you say, is pretty much good to go. Backup will address the feedback by the end of the week. Um, just made some notes. Okay, cool. And then are there any, is there like are there any more sections, or will this be the three sections to the whole inheritance wallet section, or is there more?
There will be one more
One more section.
specific, one more, which will be about wallet recovery and the actual inheritance, kind of the execution of the inheritance, which will be relatively straightforward.
Okay,
So that's going to be a smaller one.
super nice. Thanks for the update. So if anyone's watching this, If you've made it all the way 15 minutes in, the PR for co-signer and onboarding needs feedback. You can also just post it as a catch up in the channel after the call is
Yeah,
yeah, nice
I
one.
posted it also on Discord.
What type of feedback would you like with the third one? Is there anything?
Um, Basic feedback, if kind of the basic process makes sense, under if it's understandable
Mhm.
from a structure, and I think it could benefit from a bit of how do you call it? Uh, decluttering of the language, maybe.
Okay.
I tend to use longer sentences than or maybe warranted. So kind of um, a review of the language would also be cool. And if you guys see any kind of conceptual errors or
Yeah.
things that don't make sense, so that would be kind of the two things: structural and language.
Nice.
Yeah, hey Michael, I think quickly jumping in, I have
Yeah.
said this to you personally, but I wanted to say this on the call as well. I think the the content is so well written and so well thought out that for me as like a reviewer, it was super duper easy to review because I could keep track of what's happening. I was drawn in. I felt like reading. If I don't feel like reading and I fall asleep, I cannot review, right? But it was pretty well written and it was interesting, and the illustrations and the prototypes, they were also good that I was actually tempted to like, hey, what is in this? I was like really able to jump in and at least try to understand it. So I think that's one. I think the second part is that I'm like, this is kind of a part question, is that this is so elaborate and you have to think from the perspective of two, three, four, five different people who have different incentives and stuff.
Yeah.
And so one of my questions is like, how did you think about this? Because it's so hard to think like, oh, okay, so if I'm Bob and Alice, then if I'm one of the kids, I'm the lawyer, and then how do you think about that? That was super duper interesting to me.
Well, yeah, it's partly it was the uh, scratching my own itch, because I think about these things since I have children as well, and then I'm kind of trying to find a solution for myself, and see, okay, what would be um, kind of a good solution for me. But then also I kept talking to people also here uh, in the Czech Republic, and to normal people, and they say, yeah, this is too complicated. What is this about? You have to really try to make it kind of, I I don't know what I can actually say about it, because you try to put yourself in other people's shoes who are not as advanced as yourself, and that's every time I try to explain something to my wife, she said, what is this about? And yeah, so it's basically just talking to people, getting feedback, and trying to get to have kind of two main types of people in this reference design, right? One the ones are who are kind of more advanced with it, people who set it up, and then the ones that are less advanced, but since it's a multi-sig, multi-key setup, kind of the premise is that everybody knows more or less what they're doing. But you know, it's maybe a long non-answer, but it's tough one.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love the fact that you are like talking to other people in Czech Republic, like who might not be, who might not be very aware of this multi-sig inheritance thing, and talking to people at home. They are like giving, like that's the question, right? If like somebody says, "What are you talking about?" It's like that really, that really, I
Yeah.
think that perspective helps, I guess.
Yeah, well, it's not something that regular people at the current stage will use, right? It's technically very very advanced. So for 99% of the people, it's going to be probably for now. It's just it's going to be a single sig wallet, and that's about it. Maybe with the passphrase, and that's fine. But what we don't have explored yet in the guide is kind of this more advanced setup where that I think would make sense also to kind of prepare for the future. So that's where you have to cut it off, right? That's why I also wrote this use case page, because a lot of people, I mean, they instantly say, "Nah, that's too complicated. We don't need that." And
Yeah, so Daniel, thanks for joining as well. We were just catching up on the live PRs at the moment, and then Michael's one's quite a big one, the inheritance section in the guide. So we're just trying to figure out where how we can support him. Um, yeah, I don't know if you want to give a quick recap of the what we basically said, Daniel, Michael.
Don't worry about it. I'll catch up as we go along.
Yeah.
Are you tackling them sort of in number order, or what's your strategy, Michael, for going live?
yeah, well, originally the strategy was kind of to it incrementally, but since I've been kind of pushing out the PRs faster than we were with kind of the feedback, it's now more of an open question whether to push it like one by one or maybe kind of in one big setting. So there are 3 PRs out there, and one is only one more will be then needed afterwards. One more page. So that's it's a question. Either way is fine. But yeah, I originally thought it would be more incremental.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm just looking at the first one now, which got 2 chapters, right? And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes. So the first one is it's kind of good to go. I would say some feedback that has been addressed. So I think we could merge this one, maybe get yours and Christoph's eyes on it, and then just merge it.
Perfect. I'll look at it today.
Yeah. I also want to share here. This is I'm seeing this actually for the first time. So Erik is not on the call, but Erik has added in a draft PR for eCash as well, explaining what it is, the advantages compared to custodial Lightning, Fediment, and Cashew. So he's added in this draft PR now, and he tagged a few of us as well. So this is super nice to see. He said he still wants to add in more images. But he's got a nice sort of skeleton in there with quite some copies. So this is super nice to see as well. Currently in the draft mode on as a PR. So yeah, just sharing this of Erik's work as well. I will just share the link in the chat as well. There you go. Yep.
Yeah. Other than that, I think on the design guide, not sure. Well, there is one issue about silent payments, which has been all the rage lately. That might be a good one.
Um, hey, Michael, you said there is like an issue in the Bitcoin design guide.
On the roadmap, yeah, hang on.
Ah,
I'll share the screen. Here. So if we look at the issues,
mm,
um, so I'll be after kind of the inheritance wallet is more or less off my plate. I'm pretty sure I can tackle this descriptor and multisig backup page or issue that we have, because I've been working on the corresponding content. But there is one about where is it? Add content about silent payments, which is, when was that? It was opened, oh, a year
oh,
ago.
Yeah, that was open.
12 months ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good thing we're
So maybe
finally
a good
ready
time.
to address it.
Yeah.
yeah.
And here is also the one about the corresponding UX
Mhm.
after this learning call that we had. So maybe it's kind of one topic to be addressed in unison, maybe.
Yeah. I think that first call with Josie was awesome.
Yeah, that
It
was
was an
great.
awesome, and then I really got obsessed with it. And I also had another follow up call with him, and we spoke for we spoke for a long time. And then I had a bunch of questions, and he was very super duper helpful, very patient with some of my questions, and that was great. And I think the last week, especially, I have been even more excited because the BIP got merged. Now it's BIP 352. So that BIP got merged, and that created a lot of excitement on social media, right? And now we have, I think, two or three wallets that have already implemented that. I don't think it's like released properly, like a proper release, but it's beta, and I've been trying some of that out. But I also saw that Blue Wallet is also working on integrating silent payments, and that is
Yeah.
excellent. It gives us like a chance to see, hey, what do people think about it in terms of just like deploying it, and that gives us the ability to like try to extract some of the learnings or some of the observations. And I'm excited to see like how that goes, how that process goes. um, I
Yeah,
think
that's
like I yeah
cool.
I think Michael, you said like it's hard to kind of try it out because of the chicken and egg problem. Because it's, if you cannot send funds to that, how do you try it out, right? I mean, that is an issue.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Silentium does it pretty. You can switch between the silent payment address and the regular addresses, so that's how you can get them in quickly. And your approach to just load kind of an existing seed into one of these apps is probably much better. uh, but yeah, it worked. It worked nicely. So I had to get used to it, that you have to sync the wallet kind of to get the
Yeah, I mean,
updates.
You shared something here,
yes,
Yashraj. I see
yeah,
with the silent
they
payments.
yeah, so basically, Silentium was something that was super exciting. It's a quick implementation, but it looks pretty good, honestly. And so I thought, hey, let me try to break it down. Let me try to deconstruct what these guys have done. And I'm kind of working on it. And there are a few like interesting things that different wallets are doing. For example, Silentium is doing that sync thing, and it's
Yeah,
like a button here you have to sync, like you have to click that to sync the blockchain and update your transaction, right? That
yeah,
is like an interesting approach, and that is something that we don't have like with regular wallets.
yeah. It's because the wallet doesn't know proactively about incoming payments, right?
Right.
You have to sync the delta from the last time you synced uh, to the current one. So this is
Yeah.
definitely different in this case.
So this wallet is called
Yes.
Silentanium Web App, and it is a silent payment wallet. That's interesting. This is the first time I see this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is super interesting. It's not an like it's not even an app, right? It's just like you can just go to the website and you can run the and you don't have to download anything. So that's awesome, I
Yeah.
guess.
It's a web app. Yeah. So be
Yeah.
careful.
Yeah,
I'm
I
looking
think
at
that's
the
like, the
receive
yeah.
screen in the Figma file, and I see that the silent address that is shown starts with SP. Is that a thing? Can you recognize the silent address that way, or
Yeah.
it always
Yes.
starts like that?
Yes. Yes. So I think they have like deliberately done that so that people can identify that silent address. Uh, I feel like it could also be like useful if like somebody is trying to send someone money and they see that address is a silent payment address, they could like be aware that hey, maybe my wallet does not support it, and it's like I think it does like really help identify the type of address.
Is that something that's part of the spec or the BIP, or
Yeah.
that they should all start with this SP1?
Yes, yes. So yeah, so the format is basically like SP, and then you have the scan key and the spend key and all of those things, and the BIP specifies that, and all of that is encoded in the back 32M format.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Go
It's
ahead.
an interesting approach. It's an interesting approach because it takes part of the receiver key and the output keys and the probably keys of the outputs and kind of meshes them together. Um, and so it's an interesting aspect.
yeah, and there are like a few other interesting like UX aspects that I think are interesting. Like right now, we'll see like how like once we investigate them, how that goes. Like for example, silent payments like generate a taproot output, and so it's like a different type of wallet, and so like so that is something that we have to see, hey, does does that have any UX implications, right? Then like we see in the Silentium wallet, there is this like button that you have to click and say sync this now, sync my wallet, and that is something that we don't have typically. That is like another aspect, and uh, another interesting thing that I'm actually excited to see how people think about it is that usually I can so I think all of us do it is that once we have to send somebody money, we like copy paste the address into our wallet, and then before we send, we like verify that that is the same address, right? That it's not like something, that it's not too long, too short, or something wrong, right? But in this case, this silent payments address is not the address that funds are sent to. This address is only used to generate the actual address that the fund is sent to, and so you cannot like go to the blockchain and see that funds are being sent to this wallet, and that
Yeah.
is the privacy improvement, right? That nobody can tell that funds are being sent to the same person. So how do we deal with that, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. It's like a Bolt 12 offer where you have a static
Yeah.
address and basically it generates in the background other addresses. So I think you're the perfect person to tackle these open issues on the
Yeah,
design
for
guide.
sure.
How does
Yeah,
that work
I'm
together then, the
excited.
Bolt 12 and these silent payments? Are they sort of progressing in parallel, not really interacting, or is it the opposite, that they are actually very closely linked?
No, I think they're completely independent.
Yeah,
There's one is kind of so silent payment is kind of the
That's
on-chain
the on-chain.
equivalent
Yeah, yeah,
of Volt 12 offer.
of
mhm,
course. Yeah. But these two combined in a unified QR
Yeah, yeah.
is
That's
the ideal case, right?
that would be very cool. Yeah.
yeah.
That's where we want to get to.
Yeah, sure. How would you see this? Like, if you would add in content to the guide about this topic, how would you sort of structure it? What do you think needs to be in there?
Mhm. Well, so I think one thing that would definitely be helpful, that is my opinion, and I would love your guys' opinion about it, is that a basic how it works page, and then that page can contain some of these details and explainers, but also like it can contain how silent payments change backups, how silent payments impact like some other aspects, and that can be like a big page so people can like the way that I'm trying to think about it is if a dev says, hey, I want to integrate payments, hopefully and ideally they can just go to the how it works page and they can see how silent payments work, but then also examine how they change backup, sending, receiving, setup, and things like that. There are also interesting questions like, um, and I think there is a concrete answer to that, but I think it's escaping me. Is that now we can enable contacts, and the contact doesn't have to be just one single address for Mo, and it doesn't even have to be a complete expub
Mm-hmm.
that be to track all the transactions that Mo makes using that wallet. Now that contact can be attached to a silent payment address so that every time I'm sending money to Mo or I'm donating to Signal or Assange or whoever it is, I can just go to the contact and just say send money to them, and it will take care of the rest.
Yeah.
So maybe some things like that, and having that how it works page to like have a basic uh, explainer of all of these things might be useful.
Yeah, I think that's a good approach. I mean, the how to and just a basic introduction. I think Eric's page is also a nice page to look at, because he does. Here's his draft over here as well
Mhm.
for eCash. Let's see, where is it? Is it resources? How it works? No, how it works. Here it is. I'll just share this tab instead. He did a bit of an introduction here, like what is it? It's sort of a introduction paragraph. Here, what are the advantages? I think is a nice one as well. Maybe that's also nice and relevant for silent payments. Um,
Mhm. Yes, like a
advantages.
pros and cons or like a caveats. There are a lot of caveats, like things that seem like, oh, this will happen if you use silent payments, or this will not happen, and you need to clarify that you know what, hey, this is not the ultimate privacy solution
Yeah.
uh, because of XYZ reasons, and those reasons are there. So like a caveats page, and I saw that a lot of the how it works pages have a pros and cons as well. So that is something that I'm thinking about for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. It's nicely done, this one. Yeah. It's good you also took a look at the other how it works pages in terms of the structures there.
Yep.
Yeah, it's been super duper useful though to have a lot of people talking about silent payments on Twitter. Because like one of the things that also came up is that, hey, what do we call these? Do we call them silent payments, and do we call them private payments, or what do we call them? Because uh, some of like we are having issues with some of the like the regulatory things and people misunderstanding it and things like that. and so we want to make sure that it is communicated in the right way, like the way that I'm seeing it right now on like the May 20th, is that it's more of a UX improvement. And I think that is the right way to think about it. Like I'm not a privacy expert, so like who am I to say like, hey, this will like completely change the privacy game on chain and all of that. But I can see that how it improves some of the UX. Like I don't have to worry about address reuse every single time, and so I can just have
Yeah.
one static address, right? And there are these other things like contacts and this and that, and so like this sounds like a UX improvement.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I think about the sort of user benefit here, it means we maybe in the future can just say, this is your address, right?
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
as simple as that. This is your address.
Yeah.
We don't have to call it anything else, really,
Yes.
ideally. Technically, it's a static address, and before we haven't been promoting static addresses, but now we can just say, this is your address.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
think that's probably
Yeah.
the easiest.
And
Exactly. Like, for 10
it
years we
also
have.
helps to give more
Sorry.
privacy to the sender as well, not just to the receiver, because
Mhm.
the receiver does not see, where it came from,
Mhm.
really. So that's
Yeah. 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 So like that is a very interesting aspect that you actually mentioned, Michael, is that sometimes I want to know that I have received it. I mean, sometimes I want to know that this person has sent money, right? So I think that is like another aspect. If it's like WikiLeaks, they actively don't want to know maybe that who sent them
yeah,
donations. But if it's like an employee who's like receiving salary, they will they would want to know, hey, like my salary is here. If I like don't even know that my salary is here. Like so that is like an interesting aspect about their different communications or different types of UX that I think we can do it, right? So this auto sync can be something that we have to like do deliberately in silent EM, but maybe some wallets says you don't have to do it at all. We will do it every hour or every week or every day or something like that. So that is like another interesting thing.
Just to tag off what Daniel said as well is to think about use cases, which you can also, similar to what Michael did with the inheritance wallet, is think about the story of someone who has a very practical use case. So write a single user story and then create sort of their story and show how silent payment supports them in achieving that thing, that one task that they want to achieve. So you can keep it very, very specific as well.
Yeah, I think that is like another, yeah. I think that is a very interesting approach too. Like I say, hey, this is the user story is like an employee receiving their salary or an organization receiving donations, and how does silent payment look for them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, the thing that you mentioned about kind of some of the payments you will want to know, maybe because of, I don't know, transparency or accounting reasons or whatever reasons, you will want to be able to kind of associate with certain people or organizations. And how do you manage as a user, um, the two, right? These two different needs that you can have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you guys have like any suggestions as to like if we were to take the other approach? So I could do both. I could do both, how it works, and also something else where it says like we are going to handle and we are going to go through the story of how these two use cases work. How would that part, like where in the guide could that part go, you guys think?
It's a good question. Um,
Well,
so
one approach could be to have it, a dedicated reference design, like a smaller one probably, or the second one, to add kind of a silent payment feature or use case to one of the existing. reference designs.
Mm-hmm.
That might also be an option, depending on how much content and how different it actually is, right? If it's you could also say that in one of these wallets now silent payments have been enabled, and it's kind of, you describe that use case as kind of a sub page of an existing one.
Mm-hmm.
That could be an option as well.
Yeah, I was trying to think ahead. You know, if you're a wallet developer, for example, or a user, in a year from now, you know, a wallet, when you present a receive address to someone that uses your product, you know, you have to pick a default one. Then, you know, there may be options for, you know, picking another one or changing the format or whatever, but normally you have to present a default one. And are there any reasons why silent payment addresses should not be the default? I'm thinking it probably should, but I'm not aware of all the edge cases. But in that case, it's not going to be much kind of different in most of the flows that we have, sort of the common user flows. It might be more that it should be mentioned in the guide, you know, where addresses appear, that, you know, best practice is now silent payments addresses. But, you know, maybe the wallet developer still wants to retain options for the user to switch to another type for whatever reason, or maybe they can change in the settings what the default one is. Those sort of things more. But, you know, otherwise, the user should see minimal disruption in this change.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing we could definitely do is that we could go to different parts of the guide and see, hey, maybe we could add these two couple of lines to the backup section or to whatever section, saying, hey, you can also do this if you do silent payment. That could be one. Um, but like Daniel, like you were saying, like, hey, like if we were going to recommend that, hey, now silent payments is the best practice and something that will be a recommendation or something, at what point do we like take a call to like say something like that and then implement that in the guide? Should I like first, like, I could first simply do very simple how it works and those couple of two user stories, and then in the future at some date all of us could collectively say, okay, now we want that to be the recommendation or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think once you've done your how it works page, it'd be a great idea to just, you know, look through the rest of the guide, do a little you know, survey of where do we mention address formats in general, and then kind of have a think if any of that text should be altered, or, you know, how big a change would it be really, or is it more on the technical level? But yeah, I think the first step would be to just do a, you know, quick scan through the guide, you know, in the relevant places, do a search on address formats or whatever we might want to do to find all these things. But and then from there we can discuss, like, okay, is this a big change? Is it a dramatic change? Is it a radical change, or is it just like the natural progression of best practice? But I do think it's interesting to consider some of the cases where it may affect the outcome or experience from the user. Like, you know, when might these sort of unexpected things happen? Like you mentioned, Joshua, that the receiver may no longer be able to count on who sent it, right? Like, I think it's good to know the pros and cons before completely blanket recommending it. But it seems to me that that might be the direction we should go.
Yeah, and then Yashra just starting with, you know, if it's a cake, the vanilla cake is the how it works page, and then you can add some carrots into your cake, and the carrots are how that relates to the other part of the guide. But for now, maybe just start with the vanilla cake. Just take the flour, take the eggs. um,
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
start with the vanilla cake for now, if that feels good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like that was like all of this discussion we are like having, like, reminds me why I got super duper interested in silent payments like right away, because it like affects so many basic and fundamental things
Hmm.
in from the UX side as well. Like affects might be the wrong word, but it's like makes you question some of these things. Like, hey, so like all of these things about like, hey, being like able to verify on a blockchain explorer, that is great, but maybe 99% of the users will not ever do it. And so, that is another question. Like trust, but sorry, don't trust to verify is one aspect, but the other aspect is just I don't ever have to be even aware of these things. If I had to, maybe I could verify it, but 99% of the time I don't even have to think about these things.
Yeah.
So yeah, super duper excited, and Twitter is a buzz with silent payments discussions of all kinds. So many wallets are implementing it. So I'm just like, yeah, man, guys, keep doing this, keep getting excited, and keep even fighting over things if people have to, like people do on Twitter. That just helps us to like recommend something or like analyze it and stuff.
Which wallets are you aware of at the moment that have implemented it?
Yes. So I think right now I'm sure that there are two wallets. One of them is this wallet called Silentium. I will post the URL to that. The other one is Cake wallet, Cake. Cake. That was something that Mo was mentioning. But like Cake is like it's not a Bitcoin only wallet. It also does so many other things, and you can buy and sell cryptocurrencies and all of that. But they are also like with Monero and some of these other coins, and I think they were already using some of this tech or some tech similar to that. And I think they were the first, I think, to like incorporate it. And there is an iOS test flight that you can join and you can test it out with Cake wallet. I've been trying to do some of that, but I'm running into some issues. There's that. And there was another one that was like a Portuguese language. It was a wallet by Portuguese developer, and he had implemented silent payments like 3 4 months back. But yeah, that is something
Yeah.
that I have to
I
find that.
wonder. I think the adoption or the implementation will probably really take off when some of the underlying packages that most wallets use build it in. Then it will be super easy. I'm thinking like BDK, something like that.
I have I have a really weird bug right now where I cannot click on anything in the browser. Otherwise, I would have pasted the link in the chat here. But if you go to silentpayments.xyz, then
Okay.
it's a good explainer, and you see you can have a look which wallets support silent payments for now. So it's those two exactly. Yeah, it's a good website to get started. Easily
Yeah,
written.
All right.
yeah, like I think like if we have like 3 4 or like half a dozen wallets supporting it in a couple months, it could become the default soon, right? I mean, who knows?
Mm-hmm. Very nice.
Yep.
Nice to see that.
But the
Yep.
good thing is that it's not. You don't need both sides to really support it. Is that correct? Like
Yes.
or to pay a silent wallet address, silent payment address. Does the payer need to support it as well?
Yeah,
Yes.
they need to.
Oh, all right.
because it this SP address format, and so I tried it out. It just doesn't work. So you have to,
It's not
if you want
recognized.
from a kind of a not silent payment capable wallet, then on the receiver side you have to switch to a regular address, and then they can send to that address. But I guess then you don't get the privacy benefits along with it, I suspect.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like the folks who wrote this BIP 352 now, Josie and I think Ruben, they like have been doing a really good job making it easier for devs. I remember Josie had a Twitter thread where he was saying, "Hey, we like already have libraries for devs so that they can implement sending silent payments easily." And so I think they are like doing some of that groundwork as well. And like somebody was saying like, hey, like maybe once it is integrated into PDK and things like that, it will be easier. I think, right. So we just have to see how long it takes and if it happens and things like that. But like one last thing I just wanted to quickly mention is that I was thinking, and you guys can tell me if it's something that will work or not, but I was thinking that it might be just like a very simple step zero towards silent payment sending. Is that what if like wallets implemented just a check saying this is a silent payment address. Like once the sender copy paste the address, even if the wallet does not support it, they could just say, hey, there is an error message telling the user that this is silent payments address. We don't support silent payments yet, so get like a regular address. Otherwise, the user might not even know what went wrong. They might think the address is wrong or something. Just an error message, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is not as easy as I had imagined earlier. Then that you can just switch to this being the default because that's not gonna work across the board just like that. So it needs some UX consideration in like having a fallback option or being able to switch to another one if you're showing a QR code, right? But it also makes me think about unified QR codes, right?
Mm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to add too many fields because it becomes bigger and heavier. But technically, I guess you could have an option where like, okay, you could have a silent payment address baked into the unified QR code as well. And then, the on-chain is the fallback to that. And, I'm not technical enough to understand if and how that would work, but it seems like it could be an option so that you can still kind of present one QR code and then like it's goes through the options.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I
that's a good
agree.
one. That's a very reasonable solution.
Yeah, yeah. I think Josie might have something to say about that. I think I remember him saying something regarding this. I'll have to look it up, but yeah, I love that too, right? I mean, make it easier for like wallets and for people to say, hey, I cannot use silent payment address, so I will use this.
Yeah.
That seems reasonable with the unified QR. Yeah, for sure.
We are coming up to the hour now. I see it's 2 more minutes to go. I don't know what you guys would like to. If there's anything else you'd like to discuss, maybe, or wrap this one up. You, Daniel, anything? No. Yeah.
Oh, happy to listen to the progress here. It's exciting, and I'm gonna have a look at the PRs afterwards. Provide some comment.
Yeah. I'll have a look at yours,
Um,
Michael, as well. And I guess the draft PR about eCash. I guess that was just Erik was just looking
yeah.
for more general feedback. I guess on the structure. So there's feedback for Michael's one, and then there's also the eCash one as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Awesome.
Folks, I have to say this has been a very super duper useful 20 minutes for me.
Really? Why, Yashra?
Yes. I mean, I got to know your thoughts about how you guys reacted to silent payments with like questions that Daniel had and all, and you had, and plus you guys were like able to share your thoughts regarding, hey, how could this look in the guide, right? And I love the fact like now I'm thinking, hey, this how it works could also have the users' stories inside them, like not too detailed, but in brief,
Yeah.
and how it works and users, like how it works for these types of users, and that sounds like something very reasonable to have in the guide. And so yeah, I mean, that's awesome. I'm going to use that.
Yeah, I was just looking at the site that Michael shared as well about silent payments, and they have a little how it works there. But what may be missing there, and what we're really interested in, is like how does it work for the user, and not just technically, and how does this might mean that the UI and the UX need to change and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to
Yeah,
this edition.
for sure. Same, likewise. All right,
Yes.
shall I stop the recording here? Let me just click the separate
Yeah.
tab. There we go.